We all want to learn and grow right. And I think that's why you're here today, to get a little deeper into some fascinating ideas. Today, we're going on a deep dive into a pretty unique viewpoint. We're looking at ocean conservation, but through a bit of a different
Yeah,
lens.
that's it. We usually hear about ocean conservation as like a
Hmm.
obligation, but today we're going to be exploring the idea that it's actually a privilege to be a part of ocean conservation.
Yeah, exactly. We've been looking at some excerpts from the Deep Blue Maldives. It's a group that encourages divers to dive with purpose, they call it. And they really frame this idea of conservation as an honor, not just a responsibility.
Right.
And that's what we're diving into today. I mean, what does this shift in perspective really mean for how we view the ocean and how we interact with the marine world?
Yeah. So let's jump right in. This idea of privilege over obligation when it comes to conservation. What are your initial thoughts on that?
It really does seem like a subtle change in how we view things. But I think it's a really powerful one. When we think about it as a responsibility, it can almost feel like a burden.
Yeah.
But when we think about it as a privilege, well, it kind of feels like an opportunity, like something that not everyone has access to. And I think that makes you want to protect it more.
Exactly. It's like this inherent desire to protect something you value.
Mhm.
I think it has the potential for people to be more invested in protecting the ocean. If you
Yeah.
feel like you're getting this like privileged experience from the ocean,
Mm.
you're going to want to make sure that other people can have that experience too, even future generations.
Right.
So, the Deep Blue Maldives, they emphasize approaching the ocean with respect and mindfulness.
Hmm.
So, in practice, what do you think that looks like?
Well, I imagine it's all about being more aware of your impact on the ocean, you know? Instead of just passively observing, you're being careful about how you move and where you move,
Yeah.
making sure you're not disturbing the ecosystems around you,
Right.
really taking those extra steps. And every dive then becomes, less about just personal enjoyment, and it becomes more about that mindful interaction that we were just talking
Yeah,
about.
exactly. And it kind of elevates the entire experience, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not just another dive, it's a chance to really appreciate what's around you. Like the text from the Deep Blue Maldives, it says, this heightened sense of value, it naturally leads to this desire to protect and preserve the marine environment
I see.
when you're diving.
So it's not just about this idea of conservation as this big abstract concept. It's about making those conscious choices each time we interact with the ocean.
Yeah,
Because even our smallest actions, if they're multiplied by thousands or millions of other divers, they could have a really big impact.
I think so. Think about it this way.
Mm.
If every diver out there looked at their dive as this privileged opportunity to see something incredible, something unique,
Mm.
I think they'd be a lot more likely to, act as stewards of the environment. It's not about being told what to do. It's about wanting to protect something that you love.
Right, it's a choice.
Yeah.
So the key takeaway here is this shift in thinking. We're not being weighed down by some obligation. It's about recognizing that we're in a really special position when we get to experience the ocean and wanting to protect it because of that.
And this brings up an interesting question.
Yeah.
How would adopting this mindset of privilege, not just for the ocean, but for any natural environment, how would that change our behavior? How would that change our commitment to protecting our planet? Something to think about.
Yeah, it really is.
It is.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive, but we'll be back again soon with another fascinating topic to explore. Until then, keep thinking deeply.